What's up, guys? I honestly never thought that I would be making a video like this, and I'm pretty sure that if you're watching this, you never thought you'd be watching a video like this. First of all, I'm sorry that you're going through what you're going through right now. I've been there, and I know how horrible that feeling is. I want you to know that it's gonna be okay. That is the most important thing that you can hear right now, is that it is going to be okay, things will work out, and you will get back on your feet. I know it's almost impossible to imagine that right now, and I know when I was sitting where you are, I had no confidence at all that my life could ever be half of what it was before. I'm making this video series because when I was sitting where you are, all I wanted was to understand or have an idea of what I was in for, what I was about to face, what I could do about it, and how I would possibly be able to get through it. So I'm making this 4-part series to help you navigate what that process is like, to give you an idea of what to expect, and to let you know, above all, it's going to be okay. So with that, let's jump into episode 1 of Pain's Labyrinth. This series is about processing divorce. First things first, take a deep breath, inhale, hold it for 4 seconds, and let it out. Go ahead and do a few more of those if you need to. I understand that at this time you are probably feeling overwhelmed, completely lost, and have no idea what you should be thinking. This episode I'm calling Thanos Snapped, because that's really what it feels like in that immediate moment after you realize that you're about to go through a divorce. For anyone who isn't familiar with the reference, it's from the Marvel Universe. Thanos is the bad guy. He gets all of these Infinity Stones and builds them into a gauntlet that allows him to snap, and 50% of the population disappears. That's how it felt to me when my wife told me that she no longer wanted to be a part of our relationship. It was the single most devastating piece of information I had personally ever heard. I think probably you're feeling much the same way. And for me, it was not even a situation where I suspected anything was wrong. I was completely blindsided by it. And so to have that happen where I'm in a place feeling secure, like my rock, the person that I've agreed to protect, defend, link arm in arm and go through life with, has decided that she is out. That feeling of having your rock all of a sudden turn into a sandbar and the currents changed and that sandbar is gone, to find yourself floating at sea in that situation, it's really indescribable. It is a phenomenon that is just, I felt like I couldn't think straight. Everything that I was trying to make sense of, nothing would compute. I was feeling all of my feelings at the same time. I was angry. I was hurt. I wanted to absolutely destroy everything around me. And at the same time, I couldn't move because I couldn't process what was actually happening, what was being communicated to me. And if you are in that place right now, the first thing I would say is do not make any immediate decisions. Nothing consequential. You're just not in the right headspace, and I'm sure you probably are aware of this. But the way you're feeling right now cognitively is not conducive to making good decisions. So you have to just let this roll for a little while. Things will calm down. Your mind will be able to settle, but it's going to take a while. So as you're digesting this, just take a beat. Make sure you breathe. It fucking sucks, man. And it's going to suck for a long time. But it does get better. And that's why I'm making this video series, is I want you to know that it does get better. This series is not going to be a bashing session. If you're looking for me to talk shit about my ex or complain about my life and the way things turned out and proclaim myself a victim, I'm not going to do that. That's not what this video is for. This video is to help you understand what you're going through right now and really help you prepare for the long path that's ahead of you. When I got that information, that's all I wanted. I wanted to know that I wasn't alone in going through this, which, yes, the fact that more than 50% of marriages end in divorce, of course I'm not the only one that's going through this. But when something catastrophic like this happens, it hits you differently. Thinking about friends who have gotten divorced in the past, I always thought, man, that sucks. But, it's the same as watching a story about wildfires on the news or a war overseas. If it doesn't immediately impact you, you cannot truly grasp what that feels like. And so I had no idea how significant that effect was going to be on me and how profoundly all of that would make me change as a person. And I'm sure that you're feeling much the same way. So in this time of shock, just be okay not being okay. And I know that is like one of the cheesiest things you could say, but it's true. I can tell you that one of the things that did not work for me was booze and drugs. And, every song that talks about breakups, talks about drinking, talks about getting out of your mind. But if you're not in your mind, you're not going to be going through what you need to go through to get to the other side. I'm sorry, but there is no shortcut through this phase of the process. There's no shortcut through any phase of this process. And yes, this segment does suck a lot. But what I found is that when I put myself in an inebriated state, and I drank a lot, I smoked a lot, and when I did, the effect was not the escape I was looking for. It actually put me in a place that I could no longer control what I was thinking, and therefore all of the negative thoughts, all of the ruminations continued on a loop, and I couldn't break that cycle. I found that when I was sober, I could choose to focus on something else, and it didn't make the pain go away, it didn't make the hurt less, but it allowed me to think about something other than the immediate trauma that I was going through. And that wound up being the thing that really helped me get through this first phase of shock. So I would recommend that you consider that instead of alcohol, drugs, any other type of mind-altering chemical that you think is going to help you escape this feeling. It sucks. And it's going to take time, and that's the only thing that's going to make this process go is time. So buckle in, because it does suck for a while. That initial shock, when you first realize that your marriage is ending, there's nothing quite like it. And I remember very clearly sitting at my kitchen table. Something was off, and I asked my ex a question. And she didn't even verbally respond, but I could tell from her body language everything that I needed to know. And that's when, in that moment, I could feel my world starting to dissolve. I have to say, it was so disorienting that I didn't know how I should act. My impulses were locked. I didn't have an immediate reaction. And the first thing that I can really remember thinking was, how should I be acting? What should I be doing right now? I've seen examples of houses getting torn apart, grabbing clothes and belongings and throwing them off the porch and having this big screaming argument. But I was so unprepared and caught off guard that my brain didn't even know what to do in that situation. And I remember standing up, walking out of the room, still not knowing what I should be doing. And a thought came into my head like, you should tear this fucking place apart. Turn over tables, break dishes, throw the fucking chairs through the windows. And all of that energy was in me. The rage was there. But within seconds, this voice just came into my head that was like, time out. Think about this, because anything that you break now, you're going to have to pay for at least half. So if this is going the way that it looks like it's going, your best move is to chill, be as cordial as you possibly can given the circumstances. Don't break anything that is going to cost you in the long run. And I cannot for the life of me tell you why that was the thought I had. Of all the thoughts to have in that moment when my life is collapsing around me, the thought of don't destroy anything that's going to cost you money at the end of this is just a fucking wild thought. But if you haven't already flipped that switch and gone full Hulk mode, I recommend taking that other path, because it does save you money. And there's definitely a part of me that wishes, or not wishes, but still fantasizes about flipping my shit, tearing the place apart, taking all of her shit, throwing it out in the yard, and just fucking kicking her out of the house. You know, I wish I could have thought to say, go fucking stay with your boyfriend. Maybe his wife will let you sleep in the bed with them. Or maybe you can stay in his daughter's room and help with the kindergarten homework. And those are the things that deep inside of me, I felt. But I know that saying them in that moment, it wouldn't have helped the situation. And I'm glad I didn't say them. And I think that as we get deeper into these episodes and you get further down that line of ultimately it's recovery from this tragedy, from this epic collapse of what you have known as your life, I don't think you'll regret not being a jerk in that situation. And I guess here's the spoiler. I'm not mad at my ex. I have done enough work myself now at this point that I can see that what happened is the best thing that could have happened for me. And we're not going to get into that in this episode because that's not where you are right now, and you're not in a place to hear that. But I want you to know that that's on the horizon. You may never forgive that person. You may never love that person, care for that person in any capacity again. But at the end of the day, this is not about them. This is not about what's happened to you. It's about how you respond to what is happening. It's about how you come through it and what you're able to take from it, from what you're learning right now, from the feelings that you're experiencing, and how do you then move forward in your life with that. With that said, however, there are some things that I really wish I had known when I was going through this that I think will be helpful to you. And the biggest thing that you have to prepare for is the physiological experience, the changes that are going to happen in your body. This is something that I was completely unprepared for. I was very, very fortunate, and this is such an ironic thing to say, but one of my best friends had started going through his divorce about 6 months before my life blew up. I had been talking with him as a friend to just let him know I was there, trying to see if there's anything I could do for him. He was halfway across the country from me at the time. And the crazy part of it is we set up a fishing trip so that I could go out, spend time with him, make sure he was okay, give him a way to get his mind off of what he was going through, because his divorce was very, very messy. And my divorce process started literally a week before this trip. So we'd scheduled this thing months before. It was all planned out. My ex dropped the bomb on me a week before I was scheduled to leave for this trip. So I was just a complete mess. I had no idea what to think, what to do, how to feel, how to act. But I went on that trip because I'd already paid for it. But it was also one of the best things that I did. And the reason is twofold. Number one, it allowed me to go and be with someone who I knew still loved me and cared about me, and vice versa. It allowed me to be with someone who was 6 months into the process. And while he was not fully recovered by any stretch, he was in a much, much better place than he had been in a long time. And he was starting to turn that corner to see that things were getting better for him, despite the fact that he was still in the process of the divorce itself. That 6 months of separation had allowed him to think about things in a way he hadn't before. And the other reason it was good is that a lot of the things that I was feeling and experiencing, I could talk to him about. And that was really part of the primary inspiration for this video series. Is I was fortunate to have that, but most guys don't. You don't have someone that you can talk that openly with. And that was a lifesaver for me. So that's kind of what I'm hoping this will be for you as well, a little bit. But the physiological changes that were happening, I couldn't eat. I mean, I was hungry. My stomach felt like it was just tearing itself apart. And I remember I made some soup because I was like, you know what, this kind of feels like being sick. I'll just make some soup. That'll be an easy thing to eat. And I remember eating, 3 or 4 bites of soup and feeling so full that if I took another bite, I would vomit. My body was in such a stressed state. I had so much anxiety. Grief is a combination of that stress and anxiety and sadness and fear of the unknown of what's next, that my body basically shut down in that way. I couldn't eat despite the fact that I was hungry. I couldn't sleep despite the fact that I was tired. I don't think I slept for 3 days. And it was like I dreaded the nights, because during the day I could put my mind somewhere else. I could try to focus on what was happening at work. I could try to focus on taking care of my dogs, going for a walk, whatever it was. But when the night came in and I knew that it was just going to be me and my thoughts, and as I've already shared, I didn't want to drink. I didn't want to get myself out of my head, because I'd learned that I couldn't do that. The result was actually worse. So laying in bed at night, it was just a constant cycle of reliving the experience, the revelation of what was happening, and the anger and the rage that was in there. The adrenaline that came with that feeling and that emotion kept me awake. And it would transition from that anger. I'd walk through that whole pathway and then wind up in that place of feeling sorry for myself, that I can't believe this is happening to me. I can't believe everything I've put into this that is now moot and doesn't mean shit. Go through that process of feeling sorry for myself. And then from there, spinning into problem solving mode. It's like, maybe I can fix this. Maybe this isn't over. Maybe there's a way that I can find to put this back together and make this work. And then spinning straight out of that back into anger. And that cycle just perpetuating for hours. And the combination of no sleep and no food, add that to an already cloudy and uncertain mind, and you wind up with this brain fog that just doesn't let up. And so every day trying to just keep the routines going that had allowed me to exist for the past few years. Wake up, get coffee, get dressed, get to work, try and focus on what I had to do that day at work, and then dread the drive home and the evening. Yeah, it was rough. The biggest irony of it is that I hadn't eaten in days and I was still shitting 5 times a day. Like, how does that even happen? I don't understand where it came from, what even was coming out of me, but it almost like I have a newfound sympathy for people with Crohn's disease, because it would just be out of nowhere. I was like, oh, gotta take another shit. I haven't eaten in 3 days. I don't know where this is coming from, but this is ridiculous. Like, it was almost to the point of infuriating. So just know, these are the things that I was talking to my friend about, and he was saying, yep, that happened to me. You know, that lasted 2 weeks. This lasted a month. The IBS thing for him was still going on at 6 months. And for me, that lasted about a month. The first month was really, really hard for me in that way. But there's no timeline on it for you. Everyone's going to be a little bit different. And if you find yourself going through that, just know that it's normal and that it's something that is a stress response in your body. I mean, the one plus side, if you can call it a plus side, is, you know, the divorce diet is excellent for losing weight, not in a healthy way. So I say that completely tongue-in-cheek. That is a fucking terrible joke, but also true. I lost 25 pounds in a month, which is completely unhealthy. And it was because I was basically fasting for that entire month. I just couldn't eat. So for that month, trying to eat, it was all I could do to not fall apart. And eating was just one of those things that I would try and eat at every meal, but I was eating so little because as soon as I would eat a few bites, I would feel full again. But that's something that you're probably going to go through. And if you're noticing that about yourself now, make it a point, whether you feel hungry or not, make it a point to try and eat at every mealtime, even if it's just a few bites. This first stretch, this snap of the fingers, the shock and the disbelief that goes with where you are right now. Again, your timeline's going to vary. It's going to be different, but it's going to be at least a couple weeks. And so in this time, again, don't make any major decisions. Suicidal ideation is something that you may experience. It's a very real thought, and it's not something that you should take lightly. Make sure that you put yourself in positions and situations where you are safe from doing anything stupid. So while you are in your most lucid state, while you are most aware and conscious and present, whether it's pills, whether it's firearms, whatever potential situation you could find yourself in, do yourself a favor and protect yourself from yourself. I definitely had some of those thoughts, and they were fleeting. It was not something I seriously considered, thankfully. But when you are in that much acute pain, your body does not want to be in pain, and it will do anything to not be in pain. Just know that this will pass, and that the situation you find yourself in right now is not so bad that it is worth taking your own life. I mean, more than likely, if you're a man, the odds are very, very high that your wife is the one who is initiating this divorce. And if that's the case, why would you give her that fucking power? Why would you give her any more of you than you already have? It's definitely not worth it. You are going to be better on the other side, but it will take time to get to that other side. And you really do have to just suffer through it. You know, I think that's one of the things that a lot of men pride themselves on, is the ability to suffer. We're fucking good at it. Or at least we like to pretend we are. This is the ultimate shot at suffering. And if you look at it that way, this is the one time you cannot quit. because this is your life, man. This is your game. This is the championships. You cannot quit. I know that right now it feels impossible. You feel lost. You feel like your entire world is turning upside down. And it is. And things will change. And a lot of things will never be the same. But you don't get to find out what's on that other side if you give up. So the biggest piece of advice that I can give you is to talk to somebody. All right? And if that's a therapist, great. If it's a friend, great. Family member, somebody. And it has to be real. The best way to go through this is having someone next to you, someone who will listen. But that only works if you're willing to talk. And as I mentioned before, these feelings that you have, this is something that many men are just not comfortable talking about. Feeling pain, feeling hurt, feeling abandoned, feeling betrayed. All of these feelings, by talking about them and letting someone else know where you are, it gives them the ability to check in on you. And this thing that we're going through, divorce, is so ubiquitous. You're not the first. You're probably not even the only person you know who's going through it right now. So try and find someone you can talk to and just be open about how you're feeling, what you're going through, what you need. And if you need to ask questions, there's a great group on Reddit, a subreddit called Divorced Men. And there are a lot of guys out there going through this with a lot of the same questions that you have right now, a lot of the same feelings that you're going through right now. That was a place that I went, that I found some answers, that I was able to help support other men going through this as well. And just know that you're all going through this together. Others have gone through it in the past. Guys who are getting married today will be going through this at some point in the future. It doesn't get easier for any of us, but knowing that you're not alone and going through it and having someone that you can talk to let you know that, yeah, that's going to happen. You're not going crazy. That's going to happen. I had my first panic attack while I was out there with my friend on that fishing trip. For the first time, like, the room got blurry. I was hyperventilating. I almost passed out. Like, I was just losing my shit. And I couldn't explain what was happening to me. But he was there, thankfully. I was like, yeah, man, you're having a panic attack. This is something that will happen as well because you're overwhelmed with all of the unknown, all of the uncertainty. And especially when your mind is going to continue to ruminate and process through this again and again and again, trying to find an answer, trying to find a solution. And there is not a solution. The only way is through. And the only way through is to acknowledge what you're feeling and fucking work with it, man. Like, you have to embrace that. You have to suffer through that. But what I can tell you for sure is that it gets better on the other side. And every day is going to be a fight. At this point, I wish I could tell you that this is as bad as it gets, but it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. And I'm just being honest with you. Again, this series is not to do anything other than give you an idea of what to expect, to tell you what it felt like for me to go through that, and give you the courage and the strength to fight through these next phases to get to that point where you are feeling like yourself again, where the world seems friendly again. I hope that at the end of this, you're not in a place where you feel like you can never trust another woman, where you can never open up and be vulnerable with someone again, where you can't have those close, meaningful relationships for fear of being hurt. And at the risk of sounding cheesy, I think one of the reasons that I've been able to come through this and be in the position I am today is because I never lost that faith in people. I know that the experience I had was my experience with one individual. That says nothing about anybody else who's out there. And I know that at this point, you're not even thinking about that, and you shouldn't. At this point, you're probably thinking about, can my marriage be saved? How can I save my marriage? And those are great and legitimate questions. But just know that there are good people out there. And there's a lot of people who are going through what you're going through right now. And you may find you have a whole lot more in common with someone else than you think. So to close this first episode in the series out, talk to somebody. Talk to multiple people. I talked to colleagues. I talked to friends. I talked to my family. And I shared with them everything that I was feeling. I shared with them what I was going through. Most of those conversations started out as, yeah, I'm fine. I'm doing okay. I'm good. But the more that I realized that I was lying to myself as much as to them, and the more times I got off of those calls or got out of those meetings and conversations, not having been truthful with them or myself, I realized that was a waste of time. Don't put yourself through those connections and those opportunities and miss the window to have a meaningful conversation. Because the ability for you to express yourself and be vulnerable, right? This is vulnerability. What I'm doing right now is not vulnerable. Me telling my story, me relating what happened, how I felt, how I dealt with it, this is just me sharing some shit that happened to me. Vulnerability is being able to talk about that stuff while you are in the middle of going through it. So my time of vulnerability is in the past. Those were the conversations where I sat down with a colleague and openly cried in front of him. Those were the conversations with my friends where I was too choked up and too emotional to talk and just let them talk to me. Let them build me up and tell me the good things that they saw about me. Those were the times when I was with my family and I could just sit with my brother and say nothing at all and just know that he was there with me. Those are the vulnerable times, and that's where you are right now. So don't be afraid to be vulnerable. It is helpful, it is cathartic, and the people that you choose to be vulnerable with are people who are on your side, and there's no risk there. I mean, quite frankly, you're devastated right now. How could it get worse? How could it fucking get worse? Take that, lean into that. It cannot get worse than it is currently. Whatever you think might happen by you sharing your story, asking for support, leaning on somebody, it won't get worse. It can only make it better. So use this as an opportunity to lean into being vulnerable. And then as you come out of this, remember those skills and help yourself build new, meaningful friendships that are deeper than what you've experienced in the past. Help yourself build a relationship that is deeper and more meaningful than the one that you find yourself on the way out of right now. So be vulnerable, be open, talk to people. Allow yourself to feel your feelings. If you're not ready to talk with someone today, right now, that's fine. But don't try to compartmentalize everything you're feeling right now. There is so much going on. I mean, if you haven't cried yet, try it, because it's the best way to release that pressure, that stress, all of that shit that's building inside of you. You cannot drink it away. You cannot smoke it away. There is nothing that you can do to bypass the emotional shitstorm that you are feeling. It is coming for you. You are in it, and you're going to be in it for a while. Don't let it overcome you. Allow yourself to feel your feelings and be okay with it, because it's fucking human, man. It's human. There's nothing weak about it. You are taking the biggest gut punch, dick kick, whatever you want to think of it as, that you will probably ever take in your life. I mean, potentially this is the most catastrophic thing that you have felt to this point, and God willing, that you will ever feel. If not now, when? Let yourself feel. And in letting yourself feel, Again, similarly, you're preparing yourself for that eventuality down the road where you don't want to be closed off from everybody, where you want to be able to feel joy, to be happy. If you don't allow yourself to feel the sorrow, the pain, the betrayal, the absolute devastation that is the fucking dumpster fire of your life right now, how are you going to contrast and know what true joy feels like again? It's not only feeling your feelings, but it's being present in those feelings. Remember this moment because you never want to be here again. And what you are feeling in this moment, you can carry forward. This is going to be your baseline for absolute fucking shit. And I'll tell you, based on my experience and where I'm sitting right now, a lot of stuff that in previous years I would have thought was a really shitty situation, not so shitty because my baseline is so fucking low right now that something that seemed pretty bad before is something I can brush off now as an inconvenience, as something that it could have gone better. But if I had not allowed myself to be present, to feel that, and to move through it, feeling everything as I went, I would have cut off a lot of opportunity to know what happiness is, what joy is, what it means to have a conversation with a new person and truly feel illuminated again. And again, I know it's very, very early and you're not thinking about these things. And again, you shouldn't be. You should be in the present. But I'm just emphasizing for you why it is important that you live in this moment, feel these feelings and go through it. Allow yourself to feel it and don't try and fight it with alcohol or any other substance. I think I'm going to leave it there for now. I think that is enough for the first episode. I want to re-emphasize again, I'm sorry, genuinely and truly sorry that you're going through what you're going through right now. There's nothing that anyone can say that's going to make you feel better. But I hope that in watching this, you've at least realized that you're not alone, that what's happening to you emotionally, physiologically is normal, and understanding that these things are going to unfold on their own time for you. But they are things that you're going to experience, and I just want you to know ahead of time what's coming. So looking ahead to next week, I'm going to talk more about the deepest and darkest part of all of this, which is after the shock wears off, after the dust has settled a little bit, and your new reality really takes hold. So gird yourself for that. But again, just know that at the end of this, there is light, there is good, and you will bounce back. Until then, take care of yourself, and I'll see you next week.